I think I said it earlier, right? There's a difference between being used and being used for what you're good at, right? Everyone in this space is a unique subject matter expert in their own right. So you're all here because you wanted to be. There was like way more than that are here right now that wanted to be on this panel and have this conversation where Denise suggested a round two, which I'll be putting together in the weeks to come after this has been edited and dropped. So absolutely, that is the ideal lens. I don't want the same conversation from the same perspective to be had. The point of creating something like this was to have the different perspectives through the different lenses, let people, especially from our culture, see and hear how you're person centered, how you're keeping them in the driver's seat, even though the normal uh I guess rhetoric about therapy is that that's not the case, is that you will go there and they will tell you what's wrong, what how to fix you and blah blah blah, and they will harm you. And so that is what has kept us out of therapeutic relationships culturally for so long, that I want to create spaces like this. I mean, just look at us, look at the diversity, look at the level of expertise and passion and lived experience in this room right now.
He's ready.
Yes.
We're going to start. Okay,
Good to go.
let's go. Welcome to Pi Talk panel, From Survival to Service. Good morning and welcome to Pi Talk, From Survival to Service. On behalf of our hosts and organizing team, I would like to extend a warm and respectful welcome to all panelists, participants, and audience members joining us for this important conversation. Please take note that some topics discussed here might be triggering to some individuals. Today's panel is grounded in the Pi Talk philosophy: real people, real conversations, real impact, one conversation at a time. Our goal is to explore the complex and deep human journey from survival towards meaningful service, while honoring both lived experiences and professional insight. We are privileged to be joined by distinguished panelists whose experiences span leadership, clinical practice, peer support, and community engagement. It is truly an honor to introduce a remarkable group of leaders, advocates, and changemakers whose work continues to transform lives and their communities. First, please join me in welcoming Kleandria Hester. Kleandria is a dedicated clinician with the state of Washington, an emerging entrepreneur and passionate advocate for mental wellness and cultural understanding. Her professional work centers on helping individuals navigate life's challenges and develop healthier ways of thinking, while her global upbringing as a military dependent has shaped her deep appreciation for diverse perspectives. Beyond her clinical contributions, Kleandria brings a vision rooted in purpose, empowering others to embrace growth, resilience, and holistic well-being. Today, she offers us a voice grounded in both professional expertise and genuine compassion. Next, we are honored to have India Irons. India is a clinical social worker and the founder and executive director of Fearless Dance Studio, a transformative youth program in Tacoma that blends pre-professional dance training with leadership development and social emotional learning. In her role with Mary Bridge Children's Hospital, she supports youth facing mental health and engagement challenges. Bridging clinical care with creative expression, India's work stands at the powerful intersection of art and healing, creating pathways for young people to build confidence, resilience, and authentic self-expression. She is truly shaping the next generation of leaders. Please welcome Dana Priyanka Hammond. Dana is an award-winning author, speaker, and a mental health advocate whose voice carries national impact. As the author of Abandoned but Not Forgotten and Against All Odds, and co-author of the Amazon bestseller Tear the Veil, Volume 2, Dana has turned lived adversity into a platform of empowerment and healing. Her professional work as a certified peer support professional and trauma recovery advocate allows her to guide others towards reclaiming their stories and discovering strength and purpose. Dana's presence is a testament to resilience and the transformative power of hope. It is a privilege to introduce Ms. Onema, a nationally recognized recovery support services and human services expert. Ms. Onema brings extensive leadership across systems of care at both state and national levels. She has served as a special projects officer and recovery support liaison with the Mississippi Department of Mental Health, where she played a key role in training, program development, and advancing peer support services statewide. As a subject matter expert, consultant, and CEO of Reaching Resiliency, she continues to influence policy, workforce development, and recovery-oriented systems nationwide. Her work is deeply informed by both professional expertise and experience, making her a powerful advocate and leader in the recovery movement. Next, please welcome Denise Mino. Denise is an organizational development consultant, educator, leadership coach, and national speaker with more than 30 years of experience guiding organizations through complex conversations around identity, culture, and belonging. With a Master of Science in Industrial Organizational Psychology, Denise combines academic rigor with lived multicultural experience to foster environments where authenticity and inclusion thrive. Her work emphasizes emotional intelligence, trauma-informed practices, and courageous dialogue, helping individuals and organizations build meaningful connections and lasting change. And finally, let us welcome Mike Wassermiller. Mike currently serves as the Director of Peer Supports at Conquer Clinics, where he leads with a blend of strategic vision, lived experience with a strong background in aerospace manufacturing, leadership, and a successful transition into social services. Mike has continued to elevate programs that support recovery and community well-being. As a founder of Life High Coaching and Services and an active leader across multiple recovery and advisory boards, he brings both professional insight and personal commitment to his work. His journey in long-term recovery since 2007 adds a powerful dimension to his leadership and advocacy. Each of these individuals brings not only impressive professional accomplishments, but also a deep commitment to service, resilience, and community impact. I am excited for the wisdom, authenticity, and inspiration they will share with us all today. Together, these voices help create a dialogue that is both reflective and forward-looking. Before we begin, I would like to briefly outline the structure of today's session. Our panel will unfold in two primary rounds. On round one, a panelist will be selected and invited to lead a response to one of the 7 guiding questions. Each response will be approximately 4 minutes, followed by one brief follow-up from a host. Either round 2, questions will be revisited with 2 additional panelists offering expanded perspectives, allowing for deeper reflection and dialogue. On round 3, we may conclude with either breakout discussions or an open dialogue centered on our final question. As we proceed, I encourage both panelists and audience members to approach this discussion with intellectual curiosity, humility, and respect. Many of the themes we will explore involve vulnerability, growth, and personal transformation. I've talked too much. If you are ready, we will now begin round one.
All right, it's on you to choose a question, and you'll have 4 minutes to answer that question.
Okay, I think, hi, my name is Kleandria. So I think that number four really resonates with me because very powerful. Something, habits, boundaries, and practices for healthy, healthy care. I was one who used to not say no, kind of, shut down communication. I could communicate, but communication was just reserved. I just thought, well, if I didn't deal with it right now, then hey, we'll come back to it later. But what I have learned in helping serve others, it's important for me, first of all, to say no. Learn how to say no in an assertive way. I also started making a list of my non-negotiables. Non-negotiables are huge practice just because those boundaries set up, people were kind of, I felt that people were maybe taking advantage of my hospitality, my genuine love for people, for care, of service. And so when I started saying no, when I started engaging in my own self-care, so I do things like travel. A lot of people, have commented on where have you been? Where are you going? That is huge to me because I'm an empath, so I feel everything. I feel my own emotions. I feel others' emotions. I feel the chaos of the world and with high intuition. And so when I'm not taking that break, when I'm not by the beach, when I'm not near water, when I am not reading and being in my own personal space, which is my home, um, then that tends to overwhelm me. And so setting those boundaries of self-care, I've picked up the harp, learning how to play the harp, with being with family and laughing. Laughter is huge as well. And also, too, something that I've learned is not to give everybody everything, meaning that the word love, I know that spiritual, you're supposed to love everybody, which I do. However, when I say the word I love you, um, I mean that. And so I learned to take that back. If somebody is coming at me, has did harm, I learned to not just say I love you and just to kind of dial it back, which I found had an impact because people noticed. And so therefore there's a reflection on what happened. And then we can have that, that conversation, that dialect that needs to happen. But those are some things that I've learned to set up for myself when helping, serve others. Thank you.
Right, right on
Thank you,
time.
Cleandra. That was wonderful, my dear.
Okay.
Let me unmute you, dude. Oh, you are unmuted.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Miller. Yeah, I chose question three. Can service itself become part of the healing process, or is it necessary to be fully healed before serving others? And what stands out to me about that is I don't know that we are ever fully healed. So being able to embrace, I mean, it's a work in progress. I know for myself, it's a work in progress. There's been different stages of personal growth throughout the years. Life throws you different chapters, different obstacles, and every one of those situations, presents an opportunity for growth. Um, I feel that for myself, giving back is a huge piece of my life. In my early years, when I was running an addiction and I had some of those issues that a lot of us have faced, I was really into self, and living in self is very destructive. It's destructive to my family. It's destructive to the community, and it's just not where I want to be. So, kind of in alignment with a lot of the recovery programs, service work is really a huge piece of personal growth. And for myself, um, I kind of reflect back to something my sponsor told me, doing our 4-step. It's a few rounds that I've done that in my life. And he just said, Mike, it's okay not to be okay. You need to embrace that, right? Because we're never completely okay. And being able to settle in that and tap into that, and to be able to pass on to those that I choose to support or that I'm assigned to lead professionally is really huge. I find myself often preaching to myself when I am possible, guiding a participant through a dilemma that they have brought forth that I'm asked to support them through. Um, it's I often find that even in like meetings too, recovery meetings, when I am preaching or discussing a certain topic, I'm really speaking to myself. Every morning I wake up, part of my self-care, which is so huge, a big piece of my life, is I kind of go through my coffee meditation. I go through a lot of motivational type little posts or things on social media, and something always hits me. And if it hits me, I feel like it's important to share to the community, to share abroad, to share to my co-professionals in the community. Um, so tapping, because lived experience is such a huge piece of peer work, we have to be able to continually tap into ourselves, our lived experience, our opportunities of growth, and which, is part of the healing, but giving that service back to others. And that's where I'm at on that. Thank you.
You got 1 more minute, Mike.
If I need to use it, I okay. I'm more than happy to.
Well,
Um,
let me ask you a follow-up question since you have a
okay,
little bit of time left and I got an opportunity to
you
also
bet.
COLE and ECOCO, that's kind of their role too, to they have a follow-up. But did you or how do you personally navigate the balance between healing and service? The whole conversation is kind of that survivor to service actually was first presented on a different conversation by Priscilla. And
Yeah.
so when would you say like you knew you were able to do service after having survived what it was that you survived?
I would say it was a combination of my activity in the community. I jumped into coaching. I've been a leader for a long time in manufacturing in different roles. We had a lot of success building quality teams in a workforce, and that was established by tapping into a lot of what I had learned in recovery, learning the principles, learning how to deal with people and deal with myself on an even keel, and with empathy, with love, and with understanding. And at that point, I had had a lot of people telling me, man, you should become a life coach. You should become a life coach. It evolved into that, and that's what rolled into my social service career, into where I'm at now, supporting a bunch of peers across the state.
Thank you, Mike.
Very good. Appreciate it. All right, are we
Coach
ready?
B, there's a question, just a quick question from Peter. What is the difference between choosing to support and assign to lead? Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I think the choice of choosing to support is embracing the opportunity to serve others. So it begins as that can roll up to different dynamics, such as I mentioned, the different coachings I've done. Okay, I'm assigned to lead this team and pass on my knowledge and experience. And that rolls also into my professional scope of where I have, assigned to lead a group of peers all over the state and help them in their personal growth journeys, as well as the support that they provide people in need in the community and the other folks within our team that we support.
Okay. Thank you. All right. We have questions 3 and 4 off the table. Dana, choose a question.
So I will choose number 1. Let me see the question. Looking back at what signs told you that you had to move from simply surviving into becoming someone capable of supporting others. Well, I would say that pretty much of my life, I was focused on making it through the next day, the next challenge, or the next crisis. So when it came to survival mode, I spent most of my energy trying to stay afloat. Um, there isn't much room left for reflection, growth, and as well as helping others, because using everything that I can, um, I had to just keep going. And one of the first signs that I was moving beyond survival was when I began to see my experience differently instead, um, I was asking, why did this happen to me? So instead of asking that question, I started asking, how can what I've learned from learn can help someone else, and where my pain no longer felt like something that could only wound me, but it becomes something that would potentially bring healing and understanding as well as hope for others. Other signs was where I was emotionally stable, where I didn't have to stop struggling, but where situations were no longer completely knocking me off my course. I would face challenges without feeling like my entire world was collapsing. um, I would also notice that I became better listener instead of being in survival mode. It's a way where, it was a natural way where everything through the lens of my own pain became where my attention was focused. I found myself genuinely being able to listen, as when another person would tell their story, and I could understand from their perspective and support them without immediately comparing it to my own experience. Um, and then I would say my significant turning point was when I stopped needing my story to be validated. And there was a time when I needed people to understand what I've been through as I was healing through my own journey and my own progress. I became less focused on being understood and more focused on understanding others, which really shifted everything. It shifted a change within me. Um, I let me see. I also found purpose in my journey when it came to a hardship of losses, disappointment, and obstacles that seemed meaningless, and which began to take a new significance in every part of my challenge that taught me something about perseverance, faith, compassion, and resilience. So those became the tools I could use to help others navigate in their journey. And that's pretty much what I would like to talk about. I don't know if I'm
Thank you,
still.
Dana.
Thank you.
Okay. Ikoko, you have a follow-up question?
I just wanted to say thanks for the reflection. And could you talk about like how the people around you and in your environment responded to your change and to your shift?
Well, honestly, like the more traumatized you are, the more you gravitate to other traumatized human beings. So my shift was really not just a necessary change for me, but also canceling off people who weren't even in a good headspace or growth space. So my change for the ones who I had to rebuild my relationship with healthier mindset people who I can collaborate in having a better relationship with, or to maybe um, through my own lenses be able to reflect the same as okay, I want to be just like that, or how I see in this person who's in a healthier mind frame, I want to be able to mirror that. And so that for me, my relationship with others, that's how it pretty much navigated to in having a better relationship with others. I'm not sure if that even answered what you asked me, so yeah.
Thank you. No, I understand exactly what you mean. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate your wisdom. All right, we're going to get right into the next one. We have 4 left before this round is over.
Miss Denise.
I feel like such a winner on a Sunday morning. Thank you.
Come on. All right, so
Um,
we have 1, 3, and 4 off the table. We have 2, 5, 6, and 7 left.
yeah, I'll choose number 6.
All right, swing that over there.
And as I enter into the conversation, I'd like to just briefly talk about mental health. And for me, mental health is as important as physical health, but it's oftentimes stigmatized. Well, then you need a mental health day. Like we don't give sick leave for things like that. That's not a real illness, or that's not a real sickness, right? I hear that when I work with some organizations, but as a person who has lived with complex PTSD, and did not even realize it until well into adulthood, that all of the childhood traumas that I had experienced really created complex webs of workarounds in my brain that didn't allow me to see things for what they were, if you will. My reality was very distorted. And I saw things through a lens of my traumas and the things I needed to do to survive the situations that I was in. And with that, my immediate family also carried the same dysfunction, right? So we all validated each other because we were in the dysfunction together. And then sometimes you're in the same communities of people who experience similar dysfunction. And so you're in this echo chamber of, oh, yeah, this is normal, but it's not, right? Abuse and neglect and parentification, rage, like those are not normal things that a child should have to go through or absorb, right? So with that, I needed to learn new mental models of how to function in society, because what I thought was normal turns out was not. So after a lot of therapy, and I even have a life coach now. As a 50-something-year-old woman, I'm learning new things. So I wanted to mention this, and I just dropped it in the chat. But mental models are a set of deeply ingrained assumptions that shape how we understand the world and how we take action. So before, I would just run myself into the ground. I've experienced different types of burnout, adrenal fatigue, where I couldn't even get out of bed. I had zero energy for weeks at a time. Realized that, my adrenal system was shot. because I was go, 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 go. And also when you live in a sense of survival and heightened awareness all the time, you can burn yourself out quicker. You're using a lot of cognitive energy to navigate systems that are super complex. You're code switching. You're trying to think about how much money you have left till payday. You're trying to balance all the things around you. And so realizing that instead of burning yourself out, running yourself into the ground, just slowing life down, working on mindfulness, taking deep breaths, having gratitude for what you have, even gratitude for the hard times, because those informed how to live a better life and also how you can show up better for others. So being able to step back in situations where I've had like things that I love to do, but also was I being valued? Was my work being valued? Was I being validated in the work? Or was I just being used for, the things that I brought to the table? So being able to assess, like, based on my personal values, does this make sense to me to stay engaged with this? So my number one value is inner peace. And so if everything I've assessed aligns with inner peace and I show up and I can maintain my inner peace, then I'll move forward with it. If I step into this space and I feel like I have to compromise who I am, or I have to play small or give away my value for free to people who don't appreciate it, then it's not for me. And I've found ways to gracefully exit. And that's a whole skill in itself to say, I've got these other things going on. I've been able to reassess my priorities. And I feel like I've done what I could with this project. And I'm going to have to step away. But thank you so much for the opportunity. I loved being able to contribute to what was, and then just make a big deal about, you guys were great. I loved you. We learned a lot, and it's true, but I'm sincere in my sharing of that. And then being okay that you had to say, it's not for me anymore.
I'm not going to ask a follow-up question, but I will contribute some follow-up thoughts that I want to appreciate about what you shared, especially pointing out the difference between being used and use me for what I'm good at, right? And appreciate me in that way. So really modeling that strength-based philosophy we keep hearing in the trainings at entry level, behavioral health or peer support, but it's like it goes away the higher you go up. People stop remembering to be strength-based and lead with strengths. Yeah, you can have a point in time that happens when you're like, whoa, this all of a sudden stopped being in alignment with my assignment, right? And you can genuinely, like you just demonstrated, give a honest assessment about your enjoyment, what you learned up to that point, and leave on that note versus this is what they did to me and I'm going to tell the world, right? And then you're burning a bridge that you could have left being strength based. Hey, this is what I learned. I no longer have the bandwidth, the capacity. I'm double booked, whatever graceful exit that you are comfortable with. But again, the key thing you said was that you're comfortable with it, right? Even though you have to leave a situation, we still want to do it feeling good about how we exited, regardless of what they did to cause the desire to exit in the first place. So I think that was really, really fire. Really, you said the thing and then you ended with.
If I can add to that just a tad, it's that people pleaser, that codependency that I had that was so deeply ingrained in me, that wanted to say yes to everything, right? Understanding and unraveling that and being able to say, am I doing this for the right reasons? Right? Or am I trying to receive love, attention, and affection by saying yes to this? So thank you.
Yeah,
Well, thank
Denise,
you.
I just wanted to add too. One of the things that I really took away from what you said is something that is the foundation of our cups model, which is your inner peace, and that being the foundation. And if it does, if it's not going to bring me peace, And if it's going to be something that's going to take me off my square, I'm okay to walk away with it. It's something that we talked about it in our cups. I don't want to, oh, it's a shameless plug, but
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. 3 more to go, and then we'll take a brief break after the first round. Coco, you have 2, 5, or 7 left, I believe.
Ooh, 2, 5, or 7. Let's see. I'll do 5. So, what does readiness for service look like in real life and not just in theory? For me, readiness for service looks like willingness. It looks like perseverance. It looks like collaboration. It looks like, overcoming any obstacles or barriers that stand in the way. It looks like giving of myself and of my time for a purpose like bigger than me. It looks like dedication. It looks like sometimes being a target, right? You got to be ready because it's going to come, right? It looks like sometimes standing alone, right? Because there are those times as a service provider and an advocate to where you're just out there, right? And then there are those times to where we're in groups and when we're with others to where we're standing together. But for me, it looks like all of those things. It looks like studying. It looks like prayer, meditation. And it's something that's really ongoing. Because one of the other questions was like, how do we know when we're ready? So in the beginning, I've always been like very passionate about the work, very excited about the work. But when you really step into it, you learn that there's a lot to learn and that the learning never stops, right? We never arrive. It's something ongoing. Making that commitment to my personal recovery journey, into healing, and that even with healing, I'll never arrive, right? I think that because other stuff is going to happen. So just say maybe the stuff in the beginning I was healing from back in 2014 looks different from some of the stuff I had to heal from in 2024, 25, and 26. But I think just gaining that awareness, gaining that confidence of knowing that all the stuff that we've overcome, then we can overcome anything that's next. And so I think that's one of the gifts this process has definitely, given to me.
Okay, I would like to ask you that what is the importance of individuals are actually not ready, but they want to serve in any capacity? What do you think? How does that actually hurts their recovery? If you have anything to look at it from this perspective.
I think sometimes if we're not ready, it can definitely cause harm, right? We're going to make missteps because there are certain things that we just don't know and don't understand. And I think sometimes, especially in early recovery, the harm that we can potentially cause is not intentional. But I do think there's another side, right? Where somebody's coming in and they're passionate and they may not have, certain skills, they may not have certain training, but that's where mentorship, coaching comes in, collaboration comes in, shadowing comes in. Because I believe all of us on this panel, we have those people in our lives in the beginning, and we are that to each other, and we are that to others. And so I think that's what makes the biggest difference. When I worked for the Department of Mental Health, I used to get to review all the peer support applications that would come in, right, for people wanting to be trained. And they had these requirements that you had to meet, and just say somebody didn't quite have them all. Well, me being me, it's like, let's talk about it. This is not a no, right? It's just a not right now. But these are the things we can do to get ready, and how can I support you into accomplishing these things, so that when the next class comes up, or when you get that time that you're supposed to have, you are ready. And pouring into people in that way, I think that's equally as important, for sure. So sometimes it's just having that coachable moment. Like, if a person is open minded and willing to learn, they're gonna do those things. It's like, okay, is this what I need to do to get ready? And then we can support them and each other in doing that.
Thank you, Coco.
You're welcome.
All right, we got two left. So obviously, whoever goes, remainder will go right after them with the remaining question. All right, Dexter, you have question
Dexter.
number 2 or 7.
What would you say to someone with powerful lived experience, uh, who may be deeply still in the survival mode? Can I paraphrase it like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that really, that kind of identifies me a little bit. But I would tell Pookie or Ray Ray, your pain's real. Your story, just like Uncle Dexter's story, it matters. But what I come to realize is that my pain wasn't my identity, and that I wasn't a healer. That took a lot for me to back up and realize, because I had head knowledge didn't make me a healer. I had to become honest with Dexter first, like I would tell Pookie or Ray Ray. And I would also tell them that I'm still learning. The other thing is, you got to learn to be still. Dexter had to learn to be still and to observe himself, to observe the thoughts. So the danger came with overreacting or reacting to whatever that negative is. I spent years believing that because I suffered, I could really help people out. They could understand my plight, because I come out of prison. I've been out of prison 40 years. So I was into this mode 30 years ago, because I became a paralegal, that I could save the whole world. I identified with what people went through, but I failed to take some responsibility to understand that what role did they play in this thing? That means the crime business. Let's see here. The most important thing out of this whole thing is observing your thoughts, because I'm into anger, rage, and resentment. So it's about observing the thoughts that come across the head, being able to get the tools in your toolbox to be able to step back before you react. Because 9 times out of 10, it's been my experience, if I automatically react on those thoughts, it drops down into my belly, and then I walk out whatever that behavior is going to be. That's been my experience. And that's what I would pass on to a young fellow who's so excited, a young lady was so excited to get into the field. Awareness, you got to stay in the present. You can't stay behind you, and you can't stay in front of you with a bunch of assuming all the time, because you got these thoughts, these wild thoughts running through your head. I've come to realize also that helping people doesn't mean that I'm perfect. It's about being honest. It's about talking about the journey. And I'm about encouraging folks to take some responsibility for their actions and where they are in their own life, and to acquire the necessary tools to go to the next step. I hope that I did a good job.
You did wonderful. You did wonderful. And I wonder if anyone has any follow-up questions that they'd like to put forth based on anything Dexter shared before India covers the last question of this round, which is question number 2, I believe.
I would love to ask a quick question, a follow-up question, Bilal. That's okay.
By all means. Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Great. Thank you. Dexter, what you said about observing your thoughts, that is so huge. And I teach emotional intelligence, and a big part of that is emotional regulation. And I believe that that ties in directly to what you just said. And when folks learn to pause, reflect before acting, like that is like a life hack, right? It's one of those secrets to life. Can you tell us more about that?
Okay, so let me give you something. Let me use something that happened in my household yesterday. I worked the PM shift. So I worked the PM shift at the shelter, 2 to 10:30. My wife works the day shift. I happened to call, I don't know, somewhere around 5 o'clock. She had been gone, and I had made a statement, "How are you doing?" Well, her tone changed over the phone. And I immediately went into assumption mode. And I said, "Oh, that's okay," and hung the phone up. And when I hung the phone up, I had to think about just a second. What are you doing? Are you is that old stuff come back up? And so I had to sit back for about 5 minutes and process that information before I made the next move. And she kept calling back and calling back and calling back. And I never answered because once I identified that I was overreacting, it's like, just let me leave it alone because I don't really know where she is. So I hope that's about how fast I have to make to make a decision with respect to these thoughts and being able to observe them, because that old stuff does have a tendency to come back up, especially in my own life. And if I'm not sharp enough to be able to catch it, I'll walk right into a trap. And then the anger, the rage, resentment stuff will come up, and I'll start reacting to that and responding to that. And it's a 5, and before you know it's a 10. Does that make sense?
Much.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Perfect.
All right, we have India for question number 2, last question of the first round. Beautifully spoken, Dexter. Appreciate your wisdom. Thank you for sharing, and great follow-up question, Denise, as well. The floor is yours, India, and the timer is going.
Man, this is so funny because I was reflecting on each question and then I got this last question. So this is hilarious. Um, I have to go back to I will speak from personal and professional experience. Get and just to add to this, as a youth engagement services clinician, I'm a therapist, so I do specialize in trauma therapy, working with youth and cognitive behavior therapy, DBT, anxiety, depression. ADHD and all that across the board. I just say that like I've worked in social work for years, based off my own history of my past abuse, and coming out of domestic violence, and so as I look back at this question, that my service throughout the years in social work, from working in Department of Children, Youth, and Families, where homes were broken because back, like, my personal household was broken. And it was important to me to reunify families, and then transitioning to Mary Bridge Children's Hospital to working in ED, working with teenagers that struggle with suicide, depression, anxiety, child abuse, neglect, death, and then my current position as a youth engagement services, like I mentioned before, and Fearless Dance Studio. Like, throughout the years, it has been a journey of survival mode to having to do my own work in healing. And it took, for me, I would say that that me realizing that it took me coming out of my own trauma history personally to recognize, um, like, so I can't say that, like, I wasn't ready, because I was always serving throughout the years, because it was it was because of what I've been through that I found my purpose in serving others, because that's where it came from. Um, like I wouldn't be the social worker that I am today without my past. Like the social work, like it was because of my past and what I've been through that I I said I didn't want youth to experience what I've been through. I wanted girls to know self-esteem and be confident in themselves and everything like that. But it also took me to do the work in healing and the process of it. And it was Jesus and therapy for me in my own personal journey. Like and what it taught me, like what God revealed to me in that process of healing was that abuse is not normal. And that's in being in survival mode, that there was behaviors that I learned from being in trauma that I had to unlearn. And that's something that, like, when you are so used to having your walls and your defenses, and trying to get your basic needs met in survival mode versus your long-term plan, your long-term goal, um, trying to identify what safety means when you're used to um having to watch your back, or like because like you're always in stressors in trauma, so it's like, though, that was something that I had to actively unlearn. And when you're in your healing process and your healing journey, you're making an active choice to trying to heal each day. It is not an easy journey, and this is a both personal and professional perspective, because it's like, um there's no set time frame with healing. There is no um man, it's I wish I had more than 4 minutes to talk about this, but like, personally in my journey, like, in addressing and unlearning trauma, unlearning abuse to go into healing, in order to better serve the clients that I work with. I did have a moment where, like, I was like, I had like an episode of depression after getting out of domestic violence, and then something happened where uh, I was I was reminded, I was like, I didn't ask to be abused. I didn't ask to be like, I know I didn't deserve this. And so it was through my therapy and Jesus, like, that his word saved me during that period of time, personally. And so um it's God was revealing to me that the biggest thing that I learned was that trauma was something that I had to unlearn, and that it was not my final destination. It was not the end of my story. And because of doing the work of healing, like, it made me like a better social worker. And right now, like, um, I have my exam for my clinical license coming up, because the next phase for my Fearless Dance Studio is not just um is is not just performing arts and social emotional learning. It'll be my private practice, so I can continue on my work with individual counseling and dance therapy to because the tools of dance was to focus on releasing the trauma and giving them youth the tools to overcome that. And it takes a lot of insight to be able to see those walls that are built up. It takes a lot of insight to recognize how the trauma has impacted your relationships, your work in the field, your relationship with your parents, and even, like, let's say, for example, you working. So, like, I know I so, like, I tell people all the time, like, my ability to, like, me working now,
Yeah,
like, I'm
my dear.
oh yeah, I'm sorry. But, like, it's just like, this is a deep topic, so I can speak on it all day.
Yeah,
Okay,
we got
I could listen to you all day long, my dear, but I
Sorry.
have to be mindful about the time. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now we have ended the round one, and we will now take a short intermission of 15 minutes to allow for rest, coffee, reflection, and informal engagement. See you in 15 minutes. Welcome everyone to round two. Now we return for additional panelists that will offer their perspectives on previously discussed questions. This phase is designed to deepen the conversation and highlight the diversity of experiences and their interpretations. Please maintain time awareness, which is 3 minutes per speaker. Then again, panelists will receive a visible cue indicating that 1 minute remains, which is this. A second visual cue will be provided to support a smooth conclusion, which it will be this at the 30-second mark. So let's get right back into it.
All right. And so I will share my screen again and get the wheel going on which question we'll be going into. While I do that, I think Denise had some reflections going into this. So now will be the
I
time for
do.
that.
Perfect. Thank you. I just observing everyone and taking to heart what was shared. I just see the value in everyone's lived experience as such a key part of the work, right? Who we are, it has to go with the credentials. There is no just, doing this work without the value of the lived experience. So just want to say thank you to everyone for your vulnerability, your willingness to share. And I see these threads that are woven throughout. Although we're in different lines of work and doing the work, in different settings with different audiences, it's all about relationships and people and bettering ourselves and others. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Denise.
All right. Beautiful reflections. I concur with everything you said. So if you did not answer question number 4 in round 1, 3, 2, 1, throw 1 in the chat, and the first 2 will be answering this question for 3 minutes. All right, we have a 4 and a 1. So sticking to the rules, I'm gonna give it to Ikoko and then Dana for question number 4.
Yep.
Ikoko, you're up.
All right. So, personal habits, boundaries, or practices that help sustain my health as I continue serving others. Personal habits are like self care. So, I do like aromatherapy every day. I have a recovery support network of my own that I can depend and rely on. I love to read. I love to research. So, I do those things. I'm also into fuzzy socks. Heating pads, fidget items, right? When I'm at work, I have those things because I also have chronic pain. I think for boundaries, I would say the biggest one is like not doing work after 5. But I have work and then I have other work. So sometimes that gets mixed up a little bit. But like, major work, not doing it after 5. I also have a practice where I have a cutoff point each day. So like after I pick my daughter up from school, once I hit the driveway, that's really my time where I try to reset and just kind of leave everything behind. But yeah, I mean, those are pretty much some of my things. I think just focusing on my mental health and just other aspects of my recovery is very important if you're going to be of service to others. Because even like with our cups model, we've learned we can't pour from an empty cup. So just as much as we're giving and serving, we also have to have people to pour those things into us and also pouring into ourselves, just in whatever ways that we're comfortable.
Thank you, Ikoko.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. There is a follow-up question. COLE, do you have one?
Not really. I would like to just hear if they have anything like out of ordinary. Like I know in Mike's bio, Mike said that he likes to do some adrenaline sports. Maybe he can contribute to that.
Yeah, hi, thank you for calling on me. I love this addressing this question. It's yeah, as far as the adrenaline fueled sports, I've just always been, I'm not sure as a young man, I was just always competitive. I've always been involved in sports early on before I ran into like addiction-based issues. I was racing motorcycles. I did a lot of powerlifting, and of course, I played a lot of ball. And for myself, I think that I mean it's I've implemented that back into my life. I need those things even at my age, although I'm 25, maybe 58 on paper. I still have to have that piece of pie for me to just stay healthy. I'm just it's kind of the reason my life coaching business is called Life High Coaching and Services is because there's no high like a high on life, right? And when you learn to have a high on life, when you learn to be able to enjoy football without substances and go fishing without substances and everything else in life without substances, and you can feel those natural endorphins and dopamine and those rushes in life. It's such a blessing and it's such a gift, and it's just something that I like to try to pass on to others. It takes time, but it's a big piece of my healthy balance, both starting the day and ending the day, not racing motorcycles so much, but just the self-care thing. And my I commented number 4 in there. I made a mistake on that, but I have to myself. I have to start my morning for myself. I don't know about any of you, but I have a real hard time at night going to sleep. The thoughts and stuff just won't shut down, and I wake up and the thoughts won't shut off. And by going in and going into the gym and doing my self-care and meditation, I can dial myself back in so then I can be present for my responsibilities and where I'm needed during the day. But then there's been all this secondary trauma and all these things that I've taken in through all the day. I have to end my day. Lately, with this time of year, what I've been doing is going down like just to the beach by myself, watching sunsets, taking photographs, being by the water, and just being present in my thoughts, not answering emails, nothing. And it's really been an amazing tool of decompression and just grounding. I guess similar to how some folks like to like go barefoot on the grass or whatever. I kind of think I embrace that, just being by the water, and every sunset's different. There's no two the same, right? So anyways, thank you for calling on me.
All right, we had Dana next, and I just want to comment really quick. My kids are too young for He-Man, and I just went and watched it by myself, and it was great self-care. I had a great time. Very nostalgic.
Am I next?
You are next, and the timer is going 3 minutes.
All right. So for me, I would say prayer and my faith is foundational for me. I always prioritize rest. Also be around supportive people if I can, because they're not always available. Um, I would say putting healthy boundaries down to protect myself as well, making sure that I know what healthy boundaries look like, what priority looks like for me. I make sure that I do regular check-ins for myself, like for my emotional and spiritual. Um, so that way I'm not extremely exhausted out in serving other people and regaining strength. Because we can have mental exhaustion, emotional exhaustion really fast, and even physical exhaustion. Yeah, I think lately I've been really wanting to get into gardening. I guess I find myself, the older you get, you want to do a lot of what the older people do because it's because of what's needed. I like to be a little bit more resourceful. If I'm not finding myself writing or creating content for my books or my stories or putting myself out there in platforms to speak, that's like my go-to places, just being able to spend time to myself and me and God time. That's what I see it as, me and God time, like finding my ability to just um, do new things, I guess. I'm still trying to grow some things that I haven't completely managed, but it's a start. So that I would say that, yeah. Especially because how scarce food is and expensive food is. So yes.
Thank you, Dana.
All right, we're gonna spin for the next question. If it hits the chat, first two that hits the chat will be speaking on the question. And the question this time is the sixth question, looks like. So if you did not answer the sixth question in round one, throw me too in the chat. First two to land in there will get called on.
Why don't you answer this one, Coach B?
All right. Why not?
There you go.
How do you recognize when it is necessary to step back, recalibrate, or pause your service, even when others depend on you? Nice one. Nice move, Jale. Hats off to you. Um, that's a really good question. I will start my own timer, and it starts now. I think for me, it starts in the home. If I'm snappy with my children, if I'm unable to receive something my wife is texting me, if I'm just generally feeling frustration in my home when I'm just here, then I think it's time to like disconnect. And for me, that means like locking my office with all my laptops and 16 screens and leaving my phone in there on the charger and just going and inviting my kid. I do BMX bikes with my kids. I'm really active with them in sports. So really just trying to be mindful. My daughter and I have been playing a game called Split Fiction, a really good bonding game. You have to play two players co-op in order to get through each level, and it doesn't give you like instructions on what one character is supposed to do to help the other character progress. And so each time, there's been a couple of times where she got on Google and had to look it up, but for the most part, we're like, bonding. It's kind of like working on a puzzle. We're collaboratively doing that. And then my son, he likes other games. So just making time to go sit in his room and play like Mortal Kombat with him or something like that. Because for me, if my cup isn't full when I enter a Zoom space or when I step into community, if there's no overflow because I'm feeling frustrated or lacking at home, then that's when I know I need to recalibrate. That's when I know I need to pause my calendar, pause my service, because service starts with self and family, right? And COLE spoke on it earlier when we talk about the foundation of our shameless plug, the CUPS supervision model is protect your peace, right? We have a philosophy and we have our oasis is the foundation of our model. And the oasis breaks down into, your safe space, your space where you go for growth when everything feels like you're in a desert. The oasis is where you go get your nourishment, right? And so having those spaces that we operate in fall under the umbrella of the analogy of it being an oasis. It's our job as champions to protect it and keep the waters from being poisoned and keep the waterfall flowing and keeping it going out into the community so that we're able to do the work in a way where how we show up isn't harming somebody else, even though we don't intend to, because that happens a lot, right? You're not in a good space and you're like, you know what, but I have to do this, right? Others depend on me. So you go out when your cup is rather empty, maybe, and you try to do the work. And you might be doing some good, but also what ends up happening is you cause more harm to yourself, which makes you less effective for the community. So in the long run, you're still not helping the community the way you want to be. Even
Dexter.
Okay,
you're
I'm driving. I'm driving. I think let me pull over here for a second. Um,
yes, please do drive safe.
Yeah, please.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm close to work, so um, so how do I recognize when it's necessary to step back and recalibrate or pause your service, even when others depend on it? For me personally, when I feel myself getting resentful, I immediately pull back and I have to, get the hook up with my family. I got to start bouncing off of folks that I trust their opinion. And, the most important thing is staying out of my head, because once I get into my head and start making assumptions about why am I feeling this way, I need to be, with my wife. I mean, I'm an older guy. I'm almost 70 years old. So I'm learning to do things differently than I would have done 30 years ago. So family is so important. I mean, I got grown kids, and I talk to my daughter about what I do and what I go through. And so just bouncing off of folks that are close to me. I do a lot of reading, and I listen to a lot of, gospel music. I mean, I wouldn't be as far as I am in life without a power greater than myself. So, so the strategy is for me is to always try to stay centered, make every attempt to stay centered after, my cup, after I can be rejuvenated, and the little boy in me still wants to be assured by my wife, by my kids. You follow me? So I find myself always going back to that. And so once that happens, I'm good. I don't know if that makes sense. I know a little bit about transaction analysis, and I'm just identifying those characters that seem to show up sometime in my life. And for this question, that's one about validation.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Dexter.
I appreciate you still being in space while you're traveling to work and handling your duties. It was a little hard to hear you sometimes, but I got the gist of it, and your message was powerful. And I put it in the chat twice now because I keep hearing this common theme, and it really stood out to me, which was that supportive people aren't always available, right? Sometimes when we're using others as our as our waterfall, our source of filling our cups or overfilling them, sometimes they need it. Sometimes they're not available physically, or spiritually, right? And that's something that we have to remember, when we talk about when are we good, how can we recalibrate when it's just us, right? When it's just us and we have to do the work, and the people that would normally pour into us may not have the capacity to be there for us when we need them to be. So we have to be able to look, as another common theme is the higher power, right? Look at something greater than yourself for that recalibration. Dana, I know you had put me too in the chat, but we did say two answers. I think because Dexter was driving, he just raised his hand. Denise, you have the first one, and then Casey, you are the two to answer this question. Denise, then Casey.
Okay, Denise.
Great, thank you. So looking back, in order to look back, you have to have a level of self-awareness of where you were, the progress that you've made, what the difference was between the old versions of myself versus who I am now, right? And in the quadrant for emotional intelligence, the first square is self-awareness. And that is the biggest thing in my personal evolution and my journey to becoming a better version of myself, is that being able to neutrally observe who I was and not judge that version of myself, because I did what I knew to do based on survival, based on the conditions I was brought up in, based on the level of safety that I felt in the moment, right? So if I know that I was a manipulator, because I know that about myself, where did I learn that? I learned that at a very young age because I watched others in my life do that to me, right? And then I learned how to do it too for survival. If I didn't want to be on the receiving end of harm, then I had to spin things. So what did I do? I lied, right? I manipulated situations. I didn't disclose the truth. And I gave people the version of myself I thought they wanted, right? And I had a lot of masks that I wore, right? And I was full of strategies on how to survive in certain situations. And I thought I was smart, and I thought I was thriving, living my best life. When in fact, I was building all of these false facades that were like scaffolding to my life that weren't real. And as parts of those would come crumbling down, that's painful. Or you get called out on your stuff, that's painful too. But it's all feedback, it's all input, and it's all necessary. And I would say being able to self-reflect is huge. And then knowing what to do with that self-reflection, and then having good people around you that you can trust, that says, when they say you are totally out of line for that, right? And not get defensive, but also not judge yourself for being that version of you that you were. So honoring, oh, okay, I know what better is now, but I don't have to judge that version of me or be harsh to that version of me that did that, because now I've learned and I can progress and I feel good about who I am today and who I'm becoming, right? And just honoring your own personal journey, because if you can't do that for yourself, you sure enough can't do that for somebody else.
Thank you, Denise.
Leandra.
Yes, I think for myself, just with a lived experience of abuse and being an introvert, it was very hard for me to just kind of process what happened, So I think the signs for me was being able to communicate, being able to feel confident and empowered to be able to, again, I'm going to use, being assertive and self-awareness. This is how I feel. This is not my fault. Taking ownership of not faulting myself and beating myself up internally. So also moving to not feeling desperate. Like I had my kids earlier on, so they were my drive, literally my motivation. But also being able to talk to them and, not like a child, not like, of course, according to what their mental capacity and comprehension can be, but being able to just, be open and not hide things. Because I think, generational, people didn't talk about things. You didn't talk about your feelings. You didn't talk about what was going on. So you don't know. And therefore you grow up, not being able, you hold those things in. And for me, it was that release to be able to say, this is what happened. This is how I feel, identifying how I felt, and then being able to find people, as we said, that I could trust and who were building and uplifting others. I'm a person of culture and a person of support, community support. So I was always doing things, but then I had to do some reflection. Am I doing it out of desperation and survival, or am I doing this because I want to? I love what I do, with purpose. And so I think the ultimate sign for me, not just with faith, because believe you me, when I'm at my lowest and I call out, and I'm talking about not just inside, not saying anything and just having an internal conversation, but when I physically call out to my God, like things happen. I'm immediately uplifted and the doors start opening. And I started realizing that. So for me, the last sign was being able to financially support others as they had financially supported me in my endeavors, or in just me getting up out of my situation. So right now, if it's, time as well. So supporting people with my time, giving back to community, giving back financially, though, if I can. And it really gives me some satisfaction to know that, hey, I did it because I can, and I want to do it, and I don't have to. So that's just kind of my indicators.
Thank you, Kleandria.
Right. Got 3 questions left. I'm actually going to select the next two.
Ooh.
We have question number 5, which is, so I would like to hear from India and COLE.
I'm not going first.
COLE, you've been voluntold.
That's how you doing me, sis?
Yep.
It's all good. It's all good. So readiness for service, what does it look like in real life? In our theory, I think it was mentioned the last question is, doing things because you want to, not because you have to. Again, I'm big over presence over performance. Real big on that. Um, and also, are the things that you're doing, for others, you know, usually come from others doing it for you. So, that's paying it forward. And when they can assess their own readiness, again, that comes with a lot of discipline, a lot of self reflection, and really accountability. Once you're accountable for everything you do, especially, I'm speaking from an incarcerated lens. So the first thing to our healing is really being accountable for what we did to put us in there, being accountable to our communities, being accountable to ourselves and to our family, basically the people we've hurt and we've taken away from. And once we're accountable for that, then we can really truly move forward with healing. But if you're not accountable to what you've done and for the actions that you've committed, healing is going to be that much tougher.
Mm.
Simply because, again, you have to be accountable for your actions. And then once you're accountable, you become fearless because you realize just how tough it is for people to take accountability for what they do. And so that's kind of, it's practical to be accountable. And those are other things, real life is practical. It's not just, hey, here's an idea. The thing that I love about our group, another shameless plug, but our Hope Dealers group that we meet with is that we are always looking for practical solutions to issues that we bring forth. It's one thing to just talk about issues. We've been in meetings. A lot of us have sat in meetings, and all they do is talk about problems, and they rarely spend any real time focusing on solutions and how we, are able to put those solutions into action. Many times, oh, that was a great conversation. That was a great conversation. And then me and Coach be like, okay, well, what were some solutions that we talked about? Well, so we never really got anywhere. We're already talking again and recycling solutions that we already know, but they're never said. And how can we put these things into practice if we don't even, Coach B likes to say, write them down. If you don't write them down, they're not planned. If they're not planned, you're not going to do it. And so that's a lot of these meetings. A lot of these meetings we're talking about problems and never focusing on solutions. And I'm the kind of person I want to be around people that are about solutions and about how to practice putting those solutions into play. And once we are able to do that, we can truly move forward. So those are just some of the things in terms of readiness for service. What does it look like for me in real life and some of the key indicators? And a lot of these indicators too, I've not only learned some new ones being in our Hope Dealers group, but every time I'm in space, these spaces that Coach B creates, I'm around the people I want to be because I really believe that the people that I'm around and I associate with and share space with in various groups that Coach B puts together, we're really looking for, solution based, practical solution based um, things that we can help others with. So that's my time on that. Thank you.
Thank you. India?
I have to process this question a little bit because I guess it depends on the context. Me being a therapist in a clinical lens, when if a client is working with a therapist, we have to meet them where they're at. We can't force, as much as I like clinically, we can have treatment goals with a client. Like if whatever that they're coming to see us for, as far as like whether that's depression, anxiety, trauma, or just like needing somebody to talk to express problems, or there's a specific need and concern. Like therapist meeting with the client, we have to honor and respect the autonomy of the person. Uh, Even if symptomology of depression, and I'm just like trying to provide it real life examples, but respecting confidentiality, just even though that I may think clinically outpatient services is warranted, um, the client has the right to decline services. Um, and so I have to, I think the bottom line is that at least I guess I'm speaking from as far as like my work with there's someone that's needing something to like address whatever it is, like it is respecting the honor and dignity of the person. um and I also find it important to have a show what a positive, safe space and therapeutic relationship looks like, because I have experienced clients where they have shared that I don't feel safe to talk, or I don't want to talk at all. I don't trust, and some of that is due to because of the previous abuse and trauma, even CPS involvement, that makes a person feel unsafe, uncomfortable, and knowing what a safe individual looks like, or in a therapeutic setting when they're trying to seek help in the service in addressing what the need is. Um, uh, it it's not the best way the therapeutic relationship is not in a box. Um, it is not in a box. Like one, I can work with one client, but it's not necessarily going to work for work for every single person. Like we're we're not cookie. I'm not a cookie cutter therapist, and the way I say that is that like I'm just not going to refer a service or provide a technique or modality to one person and have it for everybody, for every client, because it doesn't work like that. Like everybody is different. Every person has their story. Um, and so when they're showing up, like they say, like they need to meet with Miss India, they need to meet and say like, hey, I just need to talk. But there's sometimes we don't talk. And that's sitting in silence sometimes and just meeting with the client for whatever the problem is or whatever the situation is, because we just need to have that safe space. And so that journey of readiness, it's an ongoing journey in a therapeutic sense, in the healing and working out the problem. um and there's no, I can't place a time frame on it because it depends on the person and their journey. in the situation. And so I would say for the youth engagement services in my position, like we work up to 90 days with the youth. And so sometimes if a child expressed to me like a whole bunch of trauma, I can't specifically work on everything um, within that 90 days because I don't feel that it is best to work out the trauma within, like, I believe it takes a little bit uh, longer term. And so like I will see like what is important to what they want to address within the time that they meet with me. Um, and then also um, the conversation will have to be had as far as um, like I will get you connected with the provider so that way there won't be a disruption in service, but also that you have the opportunity to pack all that at your timing and when you're ready. Because sometimes I met some students that are not ready, and you can't force that. That's not something that you can force. So in the therapeutic lens and the clinical lens, it's a journey for every person. It is a journey. It is not an easy thing because um you're talking to someone that you don't know for the first time, uh, and you're also it's also facing whatever the situation is that may be bothering you, and that sometimes may not be easy. Um, and it's a lot. It's a journey. So I can't say that like there's a stamp like an expectation like, oh, you have to show up to the, like, obviously the appointment, coming to the appointment, schedule appointment is very important, you know, to let us know, like, so we can schedule time to meet. But as far as like having a timestamp on your healing and the journey, that there's no box for that. There's no time frame for that. It could be 90 days, it could be longer. But this is where, as a therapist, where I have to say I have to meet them where they're at and doing the work in the treatment plan. And even if we have a set goal in the beginning, it could pivot as well. Something else may come up. A crisis may come up. And so that's kind of like, at least from the therapeutic lens. And so I do apologize that this may be like a different response to what you're
No,
expecting, but
no.
this is just like my work as a therapist. Like it's not sense, like not cut and dry. It's not black or white. Cut and dry. It's not black or white.
Well, let me reiterate. I think I said it earlier, right? There's a difference between being used and being used for what you're good at, right? Everyone in this space is a unique subject matter expert in their own right. So you're all here because you wanted to be. There was like way more than that are here right now that wanted to be on this panel and have this conversation where Denise suggested a round two, which I'll be putting together in the weeks to come after this has been edited and dropped. So absolutely, that is the ideal lens. I don't want the same conversation from the same perspective to be had. The point of creating something like this was to have the different perspectives through the different lenses, let people, especially from our culture, see and hear how you're person centered, how you're keeping them in the driver's seat, even though the normal uh I guess rhetoric about therapy is that that's not the case, is that you will go there and they will tell you what's wrong, what how to fix you and blah blah blah, and they will harm you. And so that is what has kept us out of therapeutic relationships culturally for so long, that I want to create spaces like this. I mean, just look at us, look at the diversity, look at the level of expertise and passion and lived experience in this room right now, right? These are the conversations when COLE was talking about solution focus, having these conversations and putting it on a platform for free where people can hear, you know, licensed professionals across the spectrum of modalities, essentially sharing the same message and having not a debate. This is public informative dialogue. Nobody's in here taking shots at anybody. Nobody's in here trying to rebut what anybody's saying, because your unique perspective and experience in your particular fields is yours. You are the subject matter expert on what you do and how you survive to get from survival to service. that's what I aim to highlight here. And that's, I think, I could be speaking out of turn, but I think that's what attracted Jale to this space and offered to be moderator. And it's really important what we're doing here and how we're having this conversation, because a lot of this stuff is taboo. A lot of this stuff we're taught literally not to talk about out loud. And, growing up the way I grew up, any conversation around mental health, feelings, therapy was stigmatized, shunned, shamed, bullied for. And so the survival was to stay away from it and be in the in crowd of people that weren't seeking healing, because the people that could heal or at least help in the process, we were taught to distrust and stay away from. So I'm hoping that this conversation changes that a little bit. That's my goal for these spaces.
Yeah, and I do believe, Coach B, that people who come to ask help from us in any shape or form, would it be in a self-help group or in a clinical setting or even on the street, right? They know what they need, and trying to dictate to them what they don't need and give them something that is not going to work for them is actually not doing the job right. It's actually just following a script and a guideline. So treating clients like they're idiots and they don't know what they need and just preaching to them about what they might need, I don't find that helpful. And when you meet someone, you need to ask them, how may I help you? What do you need? Because oftentimes, maybe they just need to share the same space with you and talk about video games. Maybe they just need to be there and listen to some music with you. Or maybe they just are there to talk about, what happened while they were driving to work or what happened when they were going to school. I mean, asking the person what they need, I think, is one of the missing components of therapeutic relationships right now. And if we can introduce that back into the field in a way, maybe we'll get somewhere. Like Soleil said that, maybe we can, find some clear solutions to big problems that we never discuss how to, attack it. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. I do have the last two questions up of this round. And I do believe so. Anyone wants to come off? I know your hands raised, COLE. So whatever your thought was, you can start with that, and then just choose one of the last two questions. I think we've really covered a lot. I was with the three rounds. I was just hoping to make sure all the panelists were able to share their wisdom and speak and add perspectives. So with this, we'll just kind of have this open discussion of pick one of these two questions on the screen and come off the mic. Also, I want everyone to take a turn coming off the mic and doing your shameless plug. Who are you? What services do you offer? How can people connect with you to get some of your private expertise in their life? Drop your social medias, all that, and I'll make sure that we do that. So I'm gonna start with COLE. Whatever your comment was, address either of the two questions or not, and then how can people reach out to you for your mentorship, leadership, consultation, whatever it is you offer for solutions?
I appreciate that. I just, you wanted to say that that's Jale.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, I'm glad you brought that up because, part of what I do in working with the women at WCCW is just that, hey, how can I support you? Let's not even talk about education, even though I help the women that are incarcerated or justice involved, for a better term, with their educational planning. I understand that no one's there to put behind the wall because of their education. It's generally mental health deficits that they have not addressed, and for some, have a harder time than others. So that's kind of where I focus more on, hey, what is it that you actually need and how can I support you? Because I understand that a lot of things that you do center around you not being able to deal with your trauma, deal with mental health deficits that you are currently going through. And that's actually step one. But these people that send these women to me, I'm really step 3 or 4 in the process. But for a lot of women, sometimes I get to see them, anywhere from 5 to 6 students an hour for each hour. And so that's part of what I do is in talking with them. And sometimes, like you said, they'll take that 45, 50 minutes and, they'll talk about life, things they've gone through, the help they need that they feel they're not being heard, everything but education. And, the difference is in what we do there and what I do for the group is I can't land their plane. you know, I say you got an hour, it's your plane, fly it wherever you got to fly it. And when you're ready to talk about education, we'll go from there. And sometimes they don't land their plane until the guard says movement. And that's how I put you on the call out as soon as I get the next spot available. But that's part of it. In terms of the question, let's see, can service itself become part of the healing process, or is it necessary to be fully healed before serving? I think for me, it's both. One of the things I did when I was behind the wall is that I took IOP, and it was a different feeling for me because I took IOP not because I was an addict. I took IOP because I couldn't get a drug alternative sentencing by telling them I smoked weed. When they say, "Hey, did you do any drugs?" I said weed. The DOSA screener said, "Well, that doesn't count." I said, "Well, I ain't do no other drugs." And she looked me dead in the face and said, "Well, if you want DOSA, you did something else." So I actually let her pick. And so I guess I did meth. That's what she picked for me. But I was in a IOP at Cedar Creek, and I was in there, and a couple of people I had dealt with. So I looked at people in the community that I damaged. But when you look at things from a drug dealer, uh, gang member type of perspective, when someone says they're hurting or they need something, you look at it like, "Oh, you're trying to get over on me. You're trying to get over me. You could quit if you want." You could never seeing their perspective. It's just seeing my perspective. And I didn't see my perspective because it was a perception I was dealing with. And no matter what happens in the perception, there's no way you can convince me that my perception is wrong. So one of the best things about IOP was that in my culture, we're big in storytelling. So one of the best things IOP did for me was it allowed me to sit there and see the addicts, not perception, but their perspective. And that took me coming out of my perception to enter and see their perspective and finally realize how tough it was for an addict. And they're not always trying to get over. Some of the things they do is because they're hurting. It is because it's hard to quit. And that led me to take AA. I don't smoke cigarettes like that. I took NA, NA and AA, cigarettes and alcohol. I took Bridges to Life and T4C, dealing with anger management and domestic violence. And those things were not on my JNS. I volunteered. And some of those people that were holding these classes were surprised because it's like, you're just volunteering. Well, why would you want to volunteer? Even people in the facility, I strictly told them because learning about them through their stories helped me learn about myself. And so I spent time learning, and these things really helped me to do the work that I was doing and to make sure that, as Coach B points out, part of my why. And so that became part of my why, is making sure that in order for me to understand people, make time for their perspective and be their presence over performance so that I can learn and step outside. So if me and B have a conversation, I want to see his perspective on things so I can see, because it's important for me to see how Coach B, as well as these women that I help that are incarcerated, how do you see the world? And by allowing me to see how you see the world, I now have an advantage because I know more about you as a person. And that's me, to me, is why it was important for me in my healing process, to be able to do the work, to understand that my why is possible. And again, it helped me to be fully healed. I didn't have to be fully healed because it was part of my healing journey and my healing process. So thank you. I appreciate the share.
Thank you. Thank you. Where
Thank you
can we
so
find
much.
you at if someone wanted to follow you on social media or something?
So I'm on Instagram under Real Options. That stands for Reconnecting Equity, Accountability, and Love, with opportunities provided to inspire one's newfound success. I also work with Relevant Engagement and Brother Rashad. I work with the Pacific Islanders Network and Professor Michael Tuncap. Also MOCA, which is the Men of Culture Academy. So I do a lot of work with them. And so again, you can find me on IG, Real Options. I'm on Facebook. My Facebook is kind of I mess around on that. So you'll see an actual me that you probably see at the picnic. Whereas I IG is more of a serious channel.
So IG
That's
is
my
more IG is your official business contact. We'll
it's
just
my
say that.
official, yeah, it's my official business contact, and it's under Real Options, and I'll put it in the chat. And again, anybody can reach out. I'm always trying to be as supportive as possible. Again, like Coach B says, though, with keeping in mind the family, the family perspective, because yeah, I got to make sure they right first before I step out and do any other commitments and ties. Because, and again, you know, if they're all straight, then I can do it. If not, I'll go watch He-Man by myself too. so,
All
so I
right. Thank you,
appreciate it.
COLE. Thank you.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
you. So on my screen, next in line, I see your hand up, Dexter. If you have to go, I could call on you right now. If you can hold off, I'll just go in the order of my screen, which is Mike and then Denise after that. Just any one of those questions, and then any plugs you want to make about how people could contact you or engage in any services you offer the community.
I'm glad you called on me. As demonstrated earlier, my short-term memory is horrible, and India spoke on some things, and COLE and you that I kind of wanted to comment on. But you got my mind going a little a lot. You've done an outstanding job. I think we have great representation of both the clinical side and the peer side in this group on here. My mind and what I've wanted to share was I feel like a wraparound support system. I know every agency or wherever we're all from may have different structure. Ours in particular, Concord Clinics, we all primarily telehealth with some live engagement, but it's mental health, it's co-occurring, it's SUD, substance abuse. We have a many groups on top of the IOP and OP programs. We have MRT. Something that we've done that we found successful, and as many probably realize, there's some boundaries in a clinical role that you have established that you can't really cross. Like with our participants, you would call them clients, I would call them a participant. Peers, and I can speak to that, do bring in a piece of support that can be elevated, and the parameters are a lot wider, where we can connect, sit, share space with participants as well. An example would be if some like participants or clients are having a hard time engaging or understanding like the program or certain classes that they're in our organization, in our groups that are being put on, they can lean into us, and we try to always put in our individual service plans peer support as a part of that that piece of engagement. So we are available for them to help guide them through this journey, which may be a little bit difficult for some, especially in the earlier recovery journey, treatment journey. Just is something as simple as understanding electronics and how do I get on and how do I get this link, just the little basics, right? And then and sitting beside them. And then we have like special groups, like a lot of times what brings folks into needing treatment and recovery is CPS involvement, right? So we've established some parent support groups, and it's facilitated by parents, individuals, peers that have CPS involvement, that have had to navigate the system, that have been there, done that, including myself. I had a role for a few years with the Office of Public Defense. I was a contracted social worker, and that's all I did was support parents that were DCYF involved. So tapping into the different strengths of our peers, we've been able to establish different like men's groups, women's groups, co-occurring groups and everything else to provide elevated support for that. And that's just kind of really where my mind went with this, is knowing your players, understanding each other's strengths. Something we did that was huge is I have peers all over the state. They didn't really know each other when I came on board last year. So understanding, lived experience is such a strong foundation of your peer work. But for us, how can we really be a team and understand and provide support to all these folks if we don't really know each other? So I did this team building exercise, and we did a panel every week and allowed somebody to share their story, get vulnerable to the point of their comfortableness. And it was the most powerful experience. And now we have just this incredible team of peers. We still work weekly, but if somebody's assigned or asked to support somebody, but they weren't in prison, well, they knew they can call on this other peer who was 15 years in there and has reestablished themselves in life and got custody with their kids. And that's just an example. And it's a really powerful, and I always share that. If any of you work with teams of peers, if you want a strong team building exercise, allow each peer to tell their story and get to know them a little bit. And just the transparency of that, the vulnerability, it'll bring you closer because you build your own support network, natural support network with each other as well. And since we do spend a lot of time with each other at work, that's an opportunity that's been very powerful in what we've built at Conquer Clinics. And I did put my information up on the chat as well. I'm very passionate about team building, morale building, and strategic leadership and stuff, if I could ever lend an ear. And I do know this, that I don't know it all, and I am very curious. And I reached out to Coach yesterday because he had shared something. I just like we're taught in our training, lean in with curiosity. I don't want to judge, I don't want to think, but I have questions, and I want to understand before I form an opinion, or so I can be educated.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
I just before I pass it to Denise, one thing that stood out tremendously, and I say this often, is we teach friendly but not friends in our field a lot, right? We teach about natural supports and formal supports, but we often forget about the professional natural supports that we have within our communities, our supervisors, our leaders, people we work with, because there's that hybrid where sometimes you have friends in the workplace and sometimes you don't. But a supervisor's job is to coach you. A supervisor's job is to be that natural support that you can call on when you have a question about your job. And they can, two of my ex-supervisors come to barbecues and birthdays now, right? Friendships can happen even in those hierarchical, because those are titles. Leadership is the umbrella. A supervisor or somebody like that, that's just a title, and it's often temporary. People move on, people move out, people get promoted. You could be a supervisor or a manager one day and a CEO the next, and your relationships change. So I really appreciate you highlighting that, leaning on others and creating that openness within your team building exercises. Denise, same thing to you. Shameless plugs. How can we get at you, utilize your services and expertise?
Thank you for the opportunity to do that. So I used to teach leadership and DEI related topics at the University of Washington in their continuing education program. With budget cuts and the anti-DEI movement, my programs were cut. So I'm fully available for hire. I do a lot of trainings, staff development, HR related trainings, reflection groups, strategic planning, organizational development, internal plans, leadership conversations, things like that. What I like to tell folks is all the stuff that I taught at UW, it's all still here, and I can bring it all to your organization. So in bits and pieces, right, to skill build and level folks up, give folks the same. When there is a shared common language, set of terms and terminology and understanding in the workplace, especially amongst leaders, it starts to break down the silos and allows folks to have these more heart-to-heart direct conversation because everybody's on the same page with what this means and what that means. And so I love doing leadership development series of classes and helping folks uncover their true, authentic leadership style. So I taught leadership theory, leadership styles, and then having folks just really dig into what does that mean for them, right? Tying in their lived experience. When I do those kind of classes in Indian country, right, it's so beautiful because they're like, this is what my ancestors would want me to be, is this version of me, right? Or here's how I honor the ancestors. And when I do it in mainstream, in typically in nonprofits, right, their love and care for whatever they're most passionate about really comes through. And that's the excitement, is when people awaken not just to their potential, but who they are in this moment. Like, I love that, right? When they have their own aha moments. And so one concept that I'd like to share real quick, if I can share screen, is circle of control, circle of influence, circle of no control, no influence. And this is one of the biggest concepts that I would love to just leave with everyone. And that is, remember what you have control over, right? For a lot of us who were controlled or manipulated or, tried to be contained when we were younger, we may have gotten this idea that we can be controlled or we can control others too. And so as an adult, this concept really has helped me. I think about it on a daily basis almost, is what do I really have control over in this moment? Versus what I have influence versus what's outside of my control. And it helps me gauge where I should spend my time. So I just wanted to, that circle of control is an really helpful concept.
Oh, very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise.
So where
Yeah.
can we find you? Just so you know, when this goes on the YouTube, they can hear it from your voice. How do they find you to get your services?
Yep, I do individual life, leadership, and relationship coaching. I give a discount if it's just an individual pay versus corporate pay. And I also do leadership development trainings, small, large groups, and they can find me on LinkedIn. And my link is there in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
And we have Cleandra and then Ikoko next on my screen, followed by India and Dexter.
Okay, so just kind of a little bit more background on me. So my life's work is about service. So I used to, for over a decade, help out with community youth services in the juvenile diversion program. I have education as a paralegal, studies, criminal justice studies, psychology. I am a member of the American Psychological Association, the American Counseling Association. I am licensed notary as of a year ago, 2 years ago. So my current venture right now, I'm always supporting the community in any way that I can. Right now, one of the things that I am doing is helping with the holistic life flow. So just presenting just education about wellness and how water is really effective alkaline water, for our cells, our body, just to rejuvenate, just with all the amount of health issues that are going on. I just went to two funerals with people who were dealing with health issues. I'm really big on that and, trying to incorporate healthier lifestyles for myself. So I'm doing that with Sam Tran, DJ Tabor, Dion Lister, and Deshaun Willis. So you can find me, up in Tacoma doing that. I am on Facebook as Casey Hester. You can find me. So my job is a psychology associate with the state DSHS. So you can find me there. I am working on getting my final licensure as a licensed mental health counselor. So dropping the A. So once I take the exam, I will, have that under my belt. So that's my goal, along with moving education with, the water and stuff, and continuously working with community. So yeah, you can find me through those places.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Casey.
Leandra.
Coco, and then India.
Hey everybody, so I'm Ikoko Onima. I live in Concord, North Carolina, Chief Executive Officer for Reach and Resiliency Incorporated, which is a peer-run 501c3 based out of Concord. You can find me at the National Peer Workforce Advisory Council with Coach B. Shameless plug, Coach B and I just dropped the awesome book. It's on Amazon. By Whose Authority? The Power of Professional Suggestion. Usually my email or website is the best way to reach me, and I drop those in the chat. But my work email is dream@reachingresiliencyinc.org. I'm also on LinkedIn, where you're able to connect with me for services. But some of the things that I do are individualized recovery coaching, program planning and implementation, advocacy, of course, just pretty much all the things, leadership development, all that kind of stuff. So all my services are listed there. But I'm super excited to be here now. Thanks to Coach B. I'm an author, so I'm super excited about that. And a newly licensed clinical social worker associate. So I'm going to be kind of branching off to do some of those things as well. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Ikoko.
All right, we have India.
Hello, my name is India Irons, and I am a clinical social worker, youth engagement services clinician through Mary Bridge Children's Hospital, where I facilitate therapy to middle schools and high schools in the Franklin Pierce School District. Um, Specialize in anxiety, depression, trauma, ADHD, autism, as behavioral, ODD, and so forth, as well as making sure that youth and families get connected to mental health services, whether that I'm providing therapy directly or I'm getting you connected with one of our community partners. So, like, if you need a referral, I did drop the website in the chat to Kids Mental Health Pierce County, which has the overall, like, mental health providers, as well as connection to myself or anybody from my team for mental health services. So we got you. And I also typed into the chat Fearless Dance Studio. So I'm executive director and founder of Fearless Dance Studio, where I teach ages 7 to 18. And I teach various styles: hip hop, praise dance, mime, hip hop contemporary, as well as incorporate therapeutic tools to uplift and empower youth beyond the stage, to overcome challenges beyond the stage. And so you can find Fearless Dance Studio on the Facebook, Instagram, Fearless Dance _ our website, www.livefearlessdancestudio.com. And also stay tuned, because I am studying for my clinical license, and the next phase for Fearless Dance Studios, where I'm launching my private practice. So yeah, it's the whole thing.
Come
Yep.
on,
So
come on.
all my information is in the chat.
Thank you. And
Yep, we in there.
oh, go ahead, Shale.
Me, asking me.
Yeah, you're next after
Okay.
Dexter. I see, because Dexter's screen's off, so I keep forgetting about our other panelists.
Yeah.
Dexter, Uncle Dexter, drop your social plugs, what you do, where people can find you, listen to you, get some of your wisdom, services, all the things. If you're available. I know he was driving to work, so I don't want to make the assumption that he's even able to come off mute and camera right this second. So
Okay.
yeah, what?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
okay,
I'm
he's
sorry.
here.
There he is.
Nice.
I was trying to type in the chat, but my name is Dexter Baker. I'm a content creator on Facebook under Dexter Baker and the other two platforms under Uncle Dexter. I hold no degrees. I hold nothing. I just can read a little bit, and I do gang prevention in high schools 3 days a week, along with working at a shelter. And my subject matter again is anger, and I think anger is a cause of mental illness. It contributes to mental illness, and I deal with marginalized men and women who've been just as involved. And in these schools, I'm just making an opinion. The next wave of violence are going to be from young girls because of the abandonment issues. Young girls are now carrying guns and knives and fighting boys. But you can see the anger, you can see the resentment built up in them. So that's what I'm about. At the shelter, it's interesting because you get to, I get a chance to view the grandparents and the parents of these children who are angry and resentful. And the parents, they want assistance, but the pride and ego steps in. So I just try to encourage as much as I can for them to partake with their case managers and be good to themselves. That's my favorite word. Always be good to yourself. Hey, thanks a lot for allowing me to come on, Coach B. I really enjoyed myself. Um, this is real. This is the real deal. Where you have professional folks, ain't nobody judging, and people bring something to the table. I've been a paralegal. I beat up on lawyers all my life when I was angry and bitter. You follow me? Coming to this space, I've learned just to be me, not trying to impress, because I'm really a nobody. Trying to help somebody. You follow me? So thank you anyway. Okay. Thank
Yes,
you.
it's been an honor and a pleasure. We enjoy your wisdom, and I'll be tapping into your Facebook lives on a regular basis. Ikoko, you have a hand, and then I want Jale, and then I'll drop my plugs and things like that as well.
I just want, this is my first time meeting you, India, but I just wanted to give kudos to you. When I was younger, I was a part of this dance group in Jackson called the Eye of the Tiger, which is like the little version of the J Sets, or like present day, it would be the Dancing Dolls. But before the Dancing Dolls, there was us, right? And so just looking at that, just the power of that, right? Just having those groups, having that time to be able to bond, learning the different types of dance, being able to do the parades like the big girls and stuff like that. Those are literally like some of the best memories of my childhood in my life, and that being a safe space, for us as girls, and to have that outlet of dance. So thank you for what you're doing. I think incorporating social work into that is absolutely amazing and wonderful. So I just wanted to give you kudos to that. And definitely, if I can help anyway, let me know.
Thank you.
You so welcome.
That's beautiful. And it speaks to when we hear the words, meet them where they're at, right? For us, it's not a hashtag. This is reality. You taking therapy to somewhere where they already interested in going. Just like my mentor, shout out to Joshua Smith. He wrote the book Keep Effing Going, but he was a key factor in developing the peer support program in our state that certified barbers. Could you imagine? Now you're a barber who's cutting your hair, where culturally those were our therapists anyway, growing up in my culture, speaking for myself, right? The barber knew everything that was going on in the neighborhood, every problem, every issue, every piece of depression, anxiety that anybody sat in a chair had to offer. Now they're certified peer support specialists. So now they have the ethics behind what they've already been doing. They have the skills, they have the language, and just being mentored by somebody who was a part of that program, speaks volumes to what India brings to the community. Like, I'm already linking up, trying to get my son to go there. All he loves to do is dance and be goofy. And then when I heard about that, I'm like, oh yeah, we're connecting. I need my son in there, and he has anger issues, right? So it's like, let's work on both. Let's get you dancing and unpacking at the same time. I think it's a beautiful approach. And it's, again, these innovative ways come from leaders like you in this space to literally meet the people and the community where they're at, where they could be served on their terms and not your terms, not based on your training, but based on your capacity and willingness to go into the mud with people and provide the work and provide the service in the mud, and not be like, well, when you come out of the mud, I got you because I don't want to get dirty. Nah, screw that. We getting dirty. I'm rolling in the mud too because
Right.
I grew up in the mud. So this is it's not a problem for me to come down in there and support you in how you want to navigate either the mud or getting out of it. And I think that's the difference. Too many people get attached to the outcome, and it's not their outcome to be attached to in the first place. Someone else's journey has no bearing on you. If you're in service, you're in service. Every single person that you provide a service to becomes your in the moment supervisor, actually, because they tell you how to provide the service for them. And they're going to give you reviews and evaluations. And if you can't read the room, you can't do the work. Right. So I think that having this empathy and being willing to show up in spaces and present, this is all on a Sunday on our free time. Nobody's paid. I tried to put out an ask for donations, but it was a lighthearted ask. I didn't care. It's not about the money, right? It's about the value that comes with showing up and then presenting to the community that there are people like this in their communities that will show up, that they can trust, that they can be brave with, and realize that there's safe spaces that exist in individual human beings. So that when you come into contact with them, you're coming into contact with a safe space that already exists, right? And it's just a matter of are you willing to trust that person? And a lot of you have shared your lived experience really makes up the foundation of the work you do. And therapy is only as good as the relatability and connection that the therapist or the coach or the peer support specialist. It's all human services, and you have to connect on a human level. It's not about IQ, it's about EQ. You can all go to school and get degrees, but if you can't read the room, can't do the work, period. If you can't relate, you can't make an impact, because no, they're just going to they're going to tell you stories and they're not going to be honest with you. So you're not even going to be supporting a actual existing problem or issue, because they're going to feed you some BS because they don't trust you. So, stay human, y'all. Stay doing what you're doing. I'm honored and appreciative to everyone that's been in the space. Jale, where can we find you before I close it out?
Well, I'm the co-founder and the COO of a new nonprofit coming out of Washington State with very ambitious goal. That is myrina.org. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm a retired clinician from Europe, and I couldn't sit still. Of course, I have to do something. Retirement is not for me. I've been in the field for 30 years, and I've been in recovery for 30 years. And also, I was teaching at universities back in Europe, addiction treatment at the Medical School of Istanbul and various universities. And thank you for allowing me to help you guys talk about something that is very dear to me, my mission and my purpose in life. And I loved spending all this time with you. And yeah, let's keep it up. Let's do this more often. It's actually very inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. And those of you that, I think everybody here knows me. There's a couple of listeners that probably know me, but I'm not exactly sure. My name's Blau Willis. I go by Coach B. And it was that survival to service whole idea that even allowed me to become who I am today. I'm a 3-year-old adult. I was incarcerated for the first time at 12 years old, and I navigated the system for 28 years. Um, so I've been to juvie, group homes, prison, stateside, prison federal, halfway houses, you name it. I did the tour, and I was fully a participant in my life. And Cioli spoke on it earlier when he said it's really about accountability. And I come to realize from a scientific point of view, it's the only thing that really transcends space and time simultaneously. Because when you experience accountability, you take accountability for the past and everything that happened, and you start looking at your roles in it instead of blaming people. You take accountability for where you're at, and then you take accountability for where you're going. So that's what I mean by it transcends space and time, because you heal retroactively, you heal in the real time, and then you move forward from a healer's lens. And I think that's what survival to service, in my opinion, is really all about, is how can you look at your past, accept accountability, build on that, highlight your own strengths, be good with where your shortcomings are and ask for upgrades, shameless plug to the cups model. And then also looking forward with hope and resolve to keep doing the work. And I think that's where we can stay in this field with a little bit more longevity than normal, because burnout in our field is guaranteed. It's just a matter of when, right? And that could just mean stepping back for a few months and then getting back into it. But there's going to be a point where you've poured so much into what you're doing that you have to find a time to pour into yourself, and that could be that vacation. Some of us work for the state, and you get in this habit of just collecting vacation time and not actually using it. That can that can help, exacerbate burnout. So take those vacations, do those things. If you're looking for me, coachb360.net is my own website that I built myself on Canva. So if it looks like a child built it and it's colorful and all that, it's because it's the child in me that gets to have fun and play on these apps and do these things for myself when I lack the funding to pay somebody to build me a website. I always look for ways to be resourceful because of my lived experience. That's something that I was able to make transferable instead of looking at barriers. I'm also a founder of a 501c3 nonprofit, never got a grant, right? But we've been doing the work for 3 solid years in impactful ways in our community, because we just are willing and we figure it out. And that is pursueitifyouwantit.org. And Pursue It 365 is our alternative logo and slogan, right? Just figure it out. Just pursue it. If you really want something, you'll figure it out. And sometimes figuring it out means aligning with people like yourselves, putting yourselves in a room where hopefully you're the third, fourth, or fifth smartest person, and going in humbly with a sponge like mindset. You just want to make upgrades and learn and become a better version of yourself. And that's what I've been doing for the last 10, 15 years of my life, while I was trying to survive and navigate trauma while living in prison, which is inherently just trauma. You know what I mean? So it was hard to be the guy that was a mentor in prison, writing curriculums in prison, having these types of conversations at tables when people were still stigmatizing it, and excuse me for being candid, but people were stabbing people over wanting to change. I watched people lose their actual literal life over wanting to change and do something different, and I did it anyway. And so just knowing that sometimes survival can put you in a whole different kind of survival mode when you're trying to heal from one way of thinking and ideology into another. And so I'm blessed and I live in gratitude. And I'm another, shameless plug. Ikoko and I did co-write a book called By Whose Authority? The Power of Professional Suggestion. And I think in a nutshell, it's really about, our spiritual gift, in my opinion, in this world for all things is our discernment, our ability to receive data and make a informed decision about what that means and what that looks like for us. And so our book is really about discernment. It's about leadership. It's about, you know, the trauma informed way that we wield our professional powers of suggestion. Just because you're a clinician or a peer or a professional doesn't mean that what you say is right. It's called a practice for a reason, right? Encouraging people to get that second opinion, encouraging people to um, seek more knowledge after they've been told a thing and not just running with it. And then another part that we really highlight in this book is the toxic water cooler culture that happens when people don't question rumors being brought to them and they just spread them or act on them. And some of the most damaging things in our field of behavioral health has been rumors. I've seen rumors destroy people's careers, cause people to get out of the field. And that's very, very harmful in a field that is run on the principle of do no harm, which is again, why we wrote the book to highlight some of these things, some of our personal experiences, people that have poured into us and coached us. There's the positive side to that too, right? When people are wielding their professional authority and your willingness to listen to them, but also keeping your best interest in mind when they're giving you advice or coaching you or mentoring you, and not, being what Ikoko calls broken gatekeepers, right? Because sometimes when people stop you from an opportunity, it's not because they don't even want you to have it. It's because that's how they were coached or mentored. They were taught that you're not supposed to get this opportunity at this particular time until this actually, mentioned set of benchmarks or dues have been paid. No one ever tells you how much the dues cost, but everyone tells you which ones have to be paid in order for you to get that leadership next position or that training that could elevate you in your personal development. And so we wrote this book for all of that. And something else that I did is all four of the books that I have out there that are emotionally intelligence, regulatory, anger management. We Are What We Agree To is a really powerful book on trauma informed care, post incarceration syndrome. If you go on Kindle, they're all 99 cents. And I did that all through June. So go on there, run it up, get this stuff out there, because I didn't write to get rich. When I started writing, it was in prison. I came home with boxes of things that I had wrote. So when I published 5 books in 25, people think it was AI or something. Like, no, it was stuff that I had been sitting on for 15 years of writing and journaling and putting things. And then when I got a job at Peer Workforce Development, I learned how to write, if that makes sense, because we can write things down and then we can learn how to write curriculum the right way. And so when I learned that, I was like, oh yeah, I'm about to start publishing stuff because now I know how to do it. And so that was the only thing keeping me from putting my stuff out to the world. And now it's out there. But I write with the hopes of enriching those who read it. When I first wrote Coach B's 4 Cycles of Freedom, my target audience was people that were incarcerated because I just left them. And one of the things I carried with me the most in my first 18 months was that survivor's guilt. A lot of people I was close with, I got out and they don't get to, right? And I carry that with me. And now I go back into the prison. So I'm not even able to really walk away from that feeling because I'm reminded every time I go back into one of the 10 prisons in Washington State and train guys to do peer support and gals as well. And, being that person in that role, knowing how important it is with my lived experience, I always want to make sure I'm authentic. I always want to make sure I'm not being um, used, but I'm being used for what I'm good at. Right. And what I'm good at is connecting and relating and being passionate because I did the things that so many of them have been told they couldn't do or weren't allowed to do or have been threatened. Their lives have been threatened for wanting to do, right? Some gangs you can't get out of. And that's just a reality that is really hard to accept, but it's also true for some gangs. Um, it's blood in, blood out, and if they don't want you to leave, they'll try to kill you. And that's just me being honest and candid. And these are the things that I've survived, that Ciole has survived, Dexter has survived, right? And some of us in this space that I may not have heard your whole story, you know, we have to be on our utmost when it comes to emotional intelligence. We have to do the work. We have to be willing to study, to step back, to acknowledge when we're being triggered. Because sometimes, and I heard this from Dexter in our anger management debate, which wasn't really a debate, it was a great conversation. But he had said that there's a lot of triggers he didn't know he had. He doesn't know all of them yet because we don't know what we don't know. We might think we're healed, we might think we're good, but then that one time that person comes in the office and they remind you of that one person, or they remind you of that one incident that you didn't know you haven't dealt with yet. And then what are you going to do? What are you going to do ethically and morally in that situation to continue being the leader that you're being and the reason behind the work you're doing? So I'm a land there. I could do this all day. This is really me being in alignment with my assignment. I'm really passionate about supporting people and having conversations like this. And I can't wait to pull up on Jale's podcast and have this conversation. Right, me and Coco, we gonna bring this peer conversation to that space as well. So it's been an honor and a pleasure, and I am humbled and honored that Jalea has stepped into my life as a new mentor because I do collect them, uh, and being able to have you kind of in space and supervise and really point me and everyone that comes to the independent hope dealer meeting in a good direction. So thank you for that. I'm honored. It's been a pleasure. I can't wait to edit this. That's going to be fun for me. That's also something I do for self-care. I don't get paid for none of this. It's all fun. It's all part of the work. And so if anyone else has any final thoughts, come off mute, share your last thoughts. We are 5 minutes from 2 o'clock, so I want to honor that. Denise.
I thank you. And thanks for coordinating all this, making it happen, pulling it all together, and just being of service and giving back to the community. So I want to honor and appreciate that about your role in this whole thing. And thank you to Jale, to you for continuing to give even in your retirement years. So final reflections, and I want to leave this for the viewers who are maybe looking at this later, but also if you're on here, just looking for some golden nuggets of life advice or practical application sorts of things. And that is that what I thought was all kinds of harm, all kinds of horrible things that have happened to me in my life turned out to be the fuel for my fire that drove me to become better. And you can turn all of those things around. And if I didn't have those things, I wouldn't be relatable in so many places and spaces that I go. And I'll just give you one example, and that is I did a training at a domestic violence shelter, and I stood in front of them, and all I could say to them was, 23 years ago, I came to your organization for services with a baby and a toddler, and someone just like you walked me through a process that I didn't think I could overcome. And they showed me resources and pointed me in the direction of safety. And so being able to stand and say that before I enter into a conversation about workplace etiquette, customer service, like it just sounds so cheesy if I were just to come in and tell them how to do their job better, right? But to how to be more professional. But because I have been on the receiving end, I was also able to be more relatable. So trust that you can turn any of your stuff around. Like there's a lot of stuff there. And that's just one example, but also your life is worth living. So thank you.
Thank you. India.
I appreciate this platform and be able to have this discussion. So I just want to thank you for that, first and foremost, because just like the questions of that you brought up, like really resonate with me in my journey and why I do this work, which is why like I want to share just a little bit of my journey in this personally, professionally, just like for information and purposes, and just like for anybody that needs help or need connected to services. That was very much important to me. So I just want to say thank you for creating this space. And like this is very powerful work, and I'm looking forward to collaborating more. My students do perform for Juneteenth at LeMay Car Museum, and I'm opening up registration for new students to join over the summer and all that. So like they have been working so hard, and I'm so proud. And I'm also like just thankful like for the journey and like the time to reflect, because sometimes we do this work But we don't always see how much we have overcome in doing this work, and how much that, even though like we could say that we're still in the process of healing, that we like the fact that we are healing is very much important. And so I just want to acknowledge that, and that every single one of us have purpose, and that God sees value. I know everybody has different beliefs, but just like you have purpose, and share your story, and I'm touching everybody else. So I just want to share that and express that, and looking forward to more of doing this work. So yeah, I'm excited. It's lit.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Send me the information. Obviously, y'all have my email. If it can fit in my calendar, I promise I'll pull up. That's my currency. My currency is I pull up. I don't have money to attend conferences or things like that. But if I rock with you, what I can offer you is my time, my space, my energy, my authentic show up. And if I can put it on my calendar, I'll be there for you. And I'll bring my kids to see the other kids perform and support you in that way always. Yeah, so the space that we keep mentioning, I know COLE is gonna send me a private chat if I don't drop it, but 6 to 8, we do Independent Hope Dealers. It's a 2-hour meeting every Tuesday. It's called Talk About It Tuesdays. The topics are selected by the members. So COLE walked us through 2 weeks in a row of really, really heartfelt and informational lessons on civics, kind of a basic and then a more advanced. That was fire. We don't record those meetings because it is kind of our Healing for Healers private space where we come together and kind of like we did just now, except again, it's usually topic focused or it's open forum. If nobody has submitted a topic or wanted to be host for that particular week, I create the flyers in Canva. Again, I just do this on my free time. I love it. And I love having these conversations. And COLE and myself, Ikoko, we have been in this group for about 7 or 8 months every single week. And it was different days of the week. And we finally landed on Tuesdays as kind of our home group sweet spot. And it's, come as long as you can, stay as long as you like. We even go as you please. Independent Hope Dealers. It's the same link every week. Anyone else before we slide out? Mike, you got anything you want to add? Or
Oh,
Casey?
just thank you. It's awesome sharing space with so many community champions from around the region and even the country. I think North Dakota, Cocoa or whatever. And you mentioned, uh, I I guess what comes to mind is just don't forget all the victories. Sometimes in our line of work and what we do, there's hardships and there's fails, and sometimes in human nature we can focus on the negative, whether it's in our own life or the suicides or the ODs and this and that. Don't forget all the victories and all the people that you're all helping. There are victories, and it may only be 15 or 20 or 30%, but you've got to stay focused on that and all the lives that you're changing. And you've all saved lives, and I'm grateful for you all, and I look forward to staying connected with a handful of you.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, so I just want to go out and say thank you very much for this forum. It's so well needed. It brings me out, empowers me. I'm on a next level for my own personal development. So this is part of the process. So I really much appreciate all of you and the opportunity. Um, just again, kind of recapping a little bit of what you all have said really resonates with me. It's what I actually teach. I actually, kind of spread and have philosophy of my own self. So important for self-awareness, first and foremost. Understand your biases, understand those triggers, the counter transferences, and I love what you just said, Mike. Know that it's going to be small victories. It's going to be, a open door here and then 5 shut doors here. And but you don't give up. Give yourself grace, give yourself love, give yourself care, and move forward, because that one day you're going to reach that self-actualization that you feel your own treasures, not somebody else's, but your own treasures. And, understand that you're a gem in yourself. I think people forget about that, myself included. I didn't realize the magnitude of my own self-worth, value, and power that other people saw. And now I'm just realizing that and understanding myself fully. And so give yourself that grace, that love, that care, and pay it forward. I use some of these services around here and helped other people, helped, kids in foster care, told I should be a foster parent myself. And I see the flourish from that. So move with humility, move with grace, and love y'all. Thank you.
Absolutely. COLE, you did drop in the chat. We do have 2 rules for the group before you come in, and then there's the Oasis you'll be introduced to in the group, but it's unconditional positive regard for the space and those in it, and also use your discernment when sending an invite. That's all we ask. And then when you come to the group, you'll learn, what it's all about. And next week is actually not a normal group. It starts at 4 and it goes till 9. It's our second virtual pilot CUPS facilitation. It's a emotional intelligence focused supervision model. It's not to replace any of the technical intellectual trainings, but it is, comes with our certificate. There's facilitators. Again, we all do it, from our hearts. And it'll be for sale soon, but that's why we're doing these pilots for free so that we can get it out, get the kinks out, get the slides all lined up the way they're supposed to be. So if you are interested in attending, most of you, I think, are already in the invite. Just plan to stay the whole time. And if you've never been in a training that I facilitated, I promise you it's dope.
Think of it as a flavor enhancer, like hot sauce to your favorite meal.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. I will close out now. It's been an honor and a pleasure. Give me a couple of weeks in my free time to play with this edit, and then as soon as it's out, I'll email everybody the link where they can share it to whoever they want. And Jaleh will be in touch soon, I imagine. And anybody else, I'm accessible. Just reach out to me.
I will. I will touch base, and I will post this on Myrina's socials also, to spread the good word. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate this.
Yes, go enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Spend some time with some family.